And joining us now is Alan Flowers, chairman of the Anglo-Belarusian Society. Hello and welcome to TVP World.
Yes, good morning from a very sunny Edinburgh on a British general election day. I do have to make one brief comment to start, though. You're quite correct. I am chair of the Anglo-Belarusian Society, but I do have to make the comment I am, of course, speaking in a private and personal capacity.
Duly noted, and that brings me to my first question. We have countries such as the United Kingdom which follow democratic procedures, with elections taking place freely and without any interference. But then we have Belarus, which not only has rigged elections, I mean Lukashenko did, but also it is continuing its crackdown on the opposition. Now, there are reports that Lukashenko is willing to let some of the prisoners go because of their health condition. At the same time, the number of people being kept in custody remains high. What do you think should be the key takeaway here? Is Lukashenko trying to appear, well, I don't know, more humanitarian, as ridiculous as it sounds?
Well, yes, two very interesting news stories, although as somebody who's been engaged with Belarus for over 30 years and had their own action taken against me almost exactly 20 years ago in July 2004, they didn't tend to use the words extremist. As somebody who was engaged with the marvelous pro-democracy youth organization, European Youth Parliament, I was one of these people also engaged in promoting democratic procedures and methodology. In that case, the organization taught young people about the methods of the European Parliament, the real European Parliament. But that was deemed to be ideologically inappropriate. So in my case, I was stopped from going to Belarus nearly 20 years ago in 2004. Now, fast track 20 years later, here we are in 2024, and to me, this is just much of the same. And these are Belarusians exercising what, as you rightly say, in normal European democratic countries, which the Belarus people we know strongly strive to be. If we look through the history, Belarus has strong roots, very strong European roots, rooted in European democracy over the centuries, until they had a rather too much interference, perhaps from Russia in our recent history. So a fast track to this group, yes, 20 names, not all of them directly working within the office of Svyatlana Tsikhanouskaya. There are journalists in there. There are people who have formerly been very close to the office, now are perhaps engaged in academic studies abroad. I'm not going to name any specific names, but it's up to anybody who is aware of the workings of those who, and we shouldn't really use this word Belarus opposition, because we have to remember that most Western countries, Britain as well, Britain's official position with Lukashenko is he lacks legitimacy. The legitimacy is entirely with Svyatlana Tsikhanouskaya and with the people who work around her. If the election of 2020 had been followed, these names, nobody would be talking about them being extremists. They would have been supporting, assisting, many of them officials within a presidential administration of the rightfully elected leader of the Belarus people, Svyatlana Tsikhanouskaya. So yes, you're absolutely right to point out there's a very strange contradictory action almost that we see Mr. Lukashenko, we'll call him Mr., we don't consider him to be in any way legitimately a president, so we're not going to use the P word, but there, Mr. Lukashenko claiming these individuals. We're seeing a nice view. I see a good friend of mine, Franek Vyachorka, who is, of course, the son of the very long serving Vyachorka in the opposition. Young Franek, when he was a young man, was active even 20 years ago in elections, and why now to declare him extremist? He's been exercising the democratic rights of the Belarus people for over 20 years, and as of many of the others working in Svyatlana's office. Now, as to the prisoner release, it's very small. Today, 4th of July, is the day declared by Mr. Lukashenko as Belarus Independence Day, based on the day Minsk was liberated from the fascist occupation in 1944. So it's a very significant anniversary. It's the 80th anniversary of the liberation of Minsk. Nothing to do with true Belarus independence, which Belarusians celebrate in March each year, nor the Independence Day at the end of July. I think it was about the 27th of July when I arrived first in Belarus in the 1990s, in which I celebrated in the Philharmonia with the presence of Mr. Lukashenko in 1994. My goodness, we're coming up for 30 years of Mr. Lukashenko. But he's got a massive presidency of various forms. I think the figure over 8,000 are mentioned, getting various forms of amnesty, possibly up to 2,000 releases, a very small number. The number cited in the media reports is only up to about 5. One significant elderly leading pro-democracy activist has been included in that list, and that is getting some attention. So this is typical Mr. Lukashenko tokenism. He's getting all this press coverage, and the best press coverage I've seen are both on Charter 97 Radio Svoboda and TVP World, doing a great job. If one reads the more extensive texts online, one will see that this is all part of a much, much larger process. So it really is hardly a balanced approach to those people working to create a new, free, democratic Belarus. 20 prosecutions and maybe 5 prisoner releases. It's pretty obvious which side the score goes on.
Alan Flowers was our guest. Thank you so much for providing your expert insights.